Lance, are you there?
I'm here.
There he is. We're ready to go in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Real Hospitality Live. I am super excited today to have Lance Popke on from Restaurant Funnel. Lance is the guy who talks marketing, walks marketing, and he talks it in a way that you can understand it. There's no glazing over after 30 seconds of I'm not getting it, I'm not following. Welcome, Lance. Thanks so much for coming on. Let's talk a little shop.
Thanks, Chef. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, marketing. It's one of those difficult things that everybody tries to wrap their heads around, and so much information out there that gets blasted at you from all angles, and it's a very, very complicated sort of animal to try and get your restaurant promoted in a very very complex or a very crowded market, I guess.
So with Restaurant Funnel, I mean, we've had conversations about marketing, you and I, but with Restaurant Funnel, what's the primary function and what's it about? And I ask it in that way because, as we say, not every customer is a fit for every restaurant. But so what's your approach, and how are you teaching?
Yeah, so our approach is a little different in the sense that we're not a restaurant marketing company that just goes out and does Facebook ads and creates campaigns and that sort of thing. We're focused on really the marketing strategy, and the marketing strategy starts with figuring out who you're marketing to, why you're in existence, and what you're marketing. And so there's a lot of unclear marketing messages out there. I say, people are trying to market everything to everyone, and they aren't focusing in on a clear message and to get it out to their customers or to their guests.
So how do you draw that out? Because I've been in this business long enough to know enough restaurateurs who just say, "Oh, we market to everybody. Everybody's my customer, yada yada yada," and everybody's not your customer, not even remotely.
So for sure.
What's the process to work with a restaurateur or manager to get to finding what that identity is so that you can start the process?
Yeah. So our process starts with who. And, shout out to a friend of mine, John Morrison, who's actually in the middle of writing the book called Start With Who. And what you need to do is you need to figure out who your typical guest is. And, most restaurants say, well, I have a wide range of people who come into a restaurant. And we understand that, and that's true. But you need to figure out who that average person is. And you need to have that in your mind's eye so that when you're crafting messages and crafting marketing events and promotions, that you have that specific guest in mind. And, like I always use like an example of a steakhouse, right? A steakhouse market is a carnivore, right? They're someone who enjoys steak. Most steakhouses have excellent vegetarian dishes, right? But you'll never see them going out and advertising their vegetarian dishes because that's not their market. They have those options, right? So when you're mass marketing, you need to keep your messages a little bit more specific and more tailored to what you do and why you do it, so that you're not confusing everyone, right? If a steakhouse did a big promotion on their vegetarian pasta dish, then the carnivore, who is their majority market, may get a little confused as to the message, right? That they're being sent. So we really start with who, and I just had a meeting with a client, and they had, they were adamant about having 4 who's, right? They had 4 different target markets. and the big thing that I explained to them is that you only have one website. You have one homepage, you only have one Google My Business profile, you have one Facebook, so you need to figure out who you're marketing to, so that when you have your descriptions or your landing pages or home pages, that generic message is crafted in such a way that it's attracting the majority of people. And and then once we figure that out, then we move on to why, right? And why is hugely important, because you don't want to, when you're doing marketing, you want to convey to people a why you're in business, right? People don't buy products, they buy why you're doing things, right? And so most restaurants have a mission, right? The owners, as much as they say they're after profit, and that's a big part of it, but especially in restaurants, it's a passion, right? There's, whether they're selling $5 burgers or they're selling $500 steak dinners, there's some sort of passion that's driving most independent restaurant owners. And so we really try to get to the heart of that and get a clear understanding. So when we start crafting, marketing and promotions, that we are in line with the restaurant owner's why. And then next we move on to what. So the what is kind of the basis of the whole strategy, and the what is about finding why your restaurant is unique. So we have a strategy that we uncover, what makes your restaurant awesome. And we try and go through and list as many things as we can. And then we dive down to the 3 top things that make your restaurant unique. And the whole mission behind that is that, in your trading area, whether it be, 5 blocks or 5 miles or a whole city, those three uniques, one, if most restaurants will have one unique that kind of matches,
right?
But a few restaurants will have 2, but nobody in your trading area should have 3. And when you set yourself apart with those 3 uniques, that's what will help you stand out in a crowded market when you're doing your marketing strategy, because that's the voice that you're portraying, and that's the products that you're showcasing, right?
So what are some examples of unique?
Well, unique could be anywhere from a type of dish that you serve,
right?
It could be the style of service you have. It could be an atmosphere that you have in the restaurant, right? And the thing is you might have the best chicken parmesan, and you might have the nicest booths, and you might have the best singing and dancing waitresses, right? And there might be restaurants all around that have 1 or 2 of those things, but right, you're kind of the only person that has all 3, right? And so that's what we dive down, and it has to be something that's going to attract someone to the restaurant, right? Saying that you have the most parking available might not be the biggest thing to attract someone, but right, because people are coming there for an experience, right? If you have the only parking lot in your trading area, then yeah, that might be one of your needs, right? So it always,
or something, yeah.
Right? It's not a clear sort of thing, and that's the whole thing with marketing is figuring out your who, your why, your what is a lot more difficult than you think, and it's a lot easier to do when you are facilitated with someone,
right?
And it doesn't necessarily have a calculated ROI. So that's why a lot of people won't do it. But it is the basis, once you have that figured out and you have those things, that you understand, as you move forward, coming up with the next wine dinner or coming up with the next, special event, that is all becomes very easy to do, because you have an understanding of those things.
There's a framework there, so
yeah,
you can build on that in a more structured way, in a more focused way, and keeping the car in the middle of the road, as I say, rather than trying to cover all of
yeah,
right. So once you get that all figured out, so you've got your who and what and your why and your uniqueness. So what's the next thing? I mean, and with restaurateurs, and you and I've spoken about this before, like we get into a spot where, I mean, we're just focused on, getting the staff and making sure the place is clean and making sure that the recipe's right and the truck showed up and the temperatures are right and all of that. What's the next basic step once we know who we are? What's the next thing that you recommend that restaurateurs do? Because we as operators get completely overwhelmed, which is why I say we just glaze over with marketing talk, and we say, oh, hey, you're popular on Facebook, here, go do this for me, right? Here's a couple of grand.
Yeah. To
find out that the couple of grand went down the toilet. But so what's the next thing that we should do?
Well, so once we've established that, our main focus is building a network of superfans. Okay, so how we build a network of superfans is we build it around a permission-based email marketing system. And the reason that we use an email marketing system is email can be personalized. When you do a Facebook post, it is a generic message.
Right.
When you do an Instagram post, it's a generic message. And so email allows us to build a customer relationship database. And that's something that, the restaurant world is kind of, behind a little bit on compared to the sales world or the information world, like you and I, because their customer relations database in the past was the owner or the general manager going around and talking to everybody and building a relationship with people on a personal level and having those interactions, which is still by far, the best type of restaurant behavior. But now with the digital world, we have the ability to start collecting information on these people, right? And we have the ability to touch base with them and to have that full circle, loyalty loop kind of thing where, they come in and we, follow up with them the next day then we know that they haven't been back in a while. So we, ask them to come in or, remind them to come in and, that sort of thing. And so that's where the whole, that's where the magic really happens, right? Is building that database. And you want to build enough super fans so that when you decide, hey, I want to do a wine dinner, you're able to send out a message to people and say, hey, we're doing this special dinner, and it's sold out within half an hour. Right. And, and you can't overuse those powers, but you want to build that network of people that will buy into what you've got. Right. And so, and the thing is too, with super fans, the definition of a super fan isn't necessarily someone who comes in to have dinner every week. Right. A super fan is someone who believes in what you do and promotes you and goes around and tells everybody about you and shares everything, right? And they're the people who are standing at the water cooler talking to their friends about your restaurant, and they're getting to those people that no matter what you spend or do on marketing, you'll never be able to reach, right? I read a stat on Touch Bistro. It said 91% of people are persuaded only by a trusted friend or family member to visit a restaurant for the first time. So what was that? Oof.
House burning down?
The house is burning down. Nice. Yeah, I'm getting so hot in here, the smoke alarm's going off.
You're on fire, Lance.
So anyway, so that's now I lost my train of thought. So that's one of the big things, is that you want to build this network of super fans, and you do that through, permission-based, asking questions, learning about people. And I'm not sure what's going on. You're going to have to give me 1 second.
Yeah, well, that's what you get for going live. There's always something. That's the fun part about it. It's just like being in the restaurant industry. There's always something, right?
Absolutely.
For those of you wondering, I'm talking to my producer and partner, Robbie, who's always here to save our hide and make sure that things are going well. We did have a question up there, Rob.
Oh, that was actually.
Oh, that's you chatting away. Okay.
But I was going to say, why don't you talk about Brandon Steiner just really briefly?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
We can actually, we'll do another throw to it, but
sure.
Briefly bring it up and put it out there.
All right. So while we have a moment, and Lance is stopping his house from burning down, our good friend Brandon Steiner has sent us a couple of his books, which are fantastic. They are signed, I might add. We're going to do a giveaway in the next week. And what we'd like to do is to have people go onto our YouTube channel, which is Real Hospitality Live, make a comment on Brandon's video. And what was the last part of what we were going to do? Make a comment on the video.
Make a comment on the video, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
And then pop over to realhospitality.live and put your email in
right.
So we can send you information.
And then pop over to realhospitality.live and put your email in to our subscriber list. And we will send you one of 4 copies. Living on Purpose, which I'm reading right now, which is amazing, by Brandon Steiner. And then You Gotta Have Balls.
And we'll do a live draw online.
So as Robbie says, we'll do a live draw online. And so we'll do it as a book giveaway. And these are amazing. They're signed as well by Brandon, which is Brandon's shtick because he also sells signed signed celebrity products. But and mine was personally signed. I love it. And thank you, Brandon. Amazing. Lance, are you still with us? Hopefully.
I'm still here.
You're there?
I think we may need to tolerate the beeping.
Fair enough.
How loud is it when it beeps?
Yeah, it's okay. Could be worse.
Yeah, not.
It gave us a chance to talk about our book giveaway for Brandon Steiner.
Perfect.
So,
perfect. That's slightly embarrassing.
Life is what happens to the living.
Yeah, nice.
There we go. So
nothing like, well, at least it's not going off totally. And so, I'm sure most restaurant owners have had
smoke and
had that experience.
Restaurateurs, we know that at least the Ansel system didn't go off, right?
Yes, I've been lucky.
It's time to run.
Never had that experience in my restaurant career.
I have, and it was not a lot of fun.
Yeah,
we had to shut down for I think it was 3 days because we were in Fort McMurray, Alberta, and we couldn't even get somebody to come up and clean the place. So we had a special team to come in and clean it down, wipe it all down. What a mess. Yeah. Total disaster. So we were talking about permission-based email and being able to customize your message. Now, I mean, the obvious question is, so how do you get permission-based email? It's one thing to have the fishbowl at the front and put your business card in, which is fairly remedial, but what's a better way?
A better way is for that to stop beeping. A better way. Well, so you have an email capture system on your website. And so all of our paid advertising, basically what we do is we add a second step, right? Or a third step. So most people, when they advertise, hey, I got this great thing going on, come into my restaurant. Right. And so what we want to do is we want to say, hey, I got this great thing going on. Come log in, come join our email list. And so I can tell you more about it. And then you gain their permission to market to them. Right. And then you can nurture them and let them know about what's happening in the restaurant. And so the email list is a big point because now you have the ability to market to people as you see fit, right? You have the ability to personalize it, right? You can address a message that says, sorry, you gotta give me 1 second here.
No worries. It's like having children interrupt. Andrew Karras says pull the battery or take a bat to it, which is what I would do. There's my buddy Andrew. I love it. A few things that are coming up. Well, we have people watching on the show. Next week, we have Derek Engels on Tuesday, right? And then we have Chef Dwayne Keller on Thursday. And then it's wheels up for us. And then we're off to Toronto to the Restaurants Canada Trade Show. Galley Solutions is on the 3rd while we're in Toronto, which is going to be awesome as well. So hi to everybody from Galley Solutions as well. Grant Cardone is texting me. Hi, Grant. So if you happen to be in Toronto watching, or if you're going to the show, then we'd love to meet up with you. Robbie and I are both going to be there. It's going to be a great opportunity to meet people who follow us, meet people who we're connected to. It's a great chance to do some networking. We're going courtesy of the guys from Pick Me Kombucha and Pure Plus. Can't wait to hang out with those guys and meet up with our friends. There's Lance back. Did you hit it with a bat? That was my recommendation.
I did. I actually just disconnected the alarm and threw it in the
Andrew Karras said just pull the battery, but I'm just not that calm.
Yeah.
Just think of it as children interrupting.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think what it is the battery is died.
Right.
But, you know,
at that particular moment,
timing.
the moment you went live.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And so, you know, I can still hear it beeping in the garage, but I don't think you can hear that. So
can't hear that.
It's all good. I'll refocus here and group and go. I'm never doing live anything ever again. You.
Yes, you are.
Good times. Okay, let's start. Let's start over right from the beginning.
So where are we getting these emails from? So you mentioned from the website and being able to customize them. And when you customize them, I mean, so what's the message here? Is it hey Bob, I know you're a carnivore and we got a prime rib dinner coming up on Sunday? Yeah.
So, well, there's all sorts of messages. So right from the start, when you have an email capture form on your website, you need to ask 3 questions, right? You need to ask what their first name is, what their email address is. So now you can send them an email and address it to someone personally.
Right. But
the one big thing that I have yet to see anybody do is you need to ask them if they've been at your restaurant before. And so that question right there segments people into 2 different paths for your automation, right? Most restaurants, they have a server speech or something that, when a server walks up to a table, something they say. And most restaurants, the first thing a server will say to them is, have you been here before? Right? And the reason why we ask our servers to ask that question, why you've been here before, is because we will give them a different speech or a different, direction if they've been here before versus if they haven't.
Right.
And why? Because if you've been here before, I may go in a little bit more depth and point out features and items that you haven't heard of.
Right.
Right. That might be one thing. If you haven't been here before, I'm going to keep it light and easy to not overwhelm you, right? That's one item. The other thing is if you haven't been here before, I'm going to say things differently. Hey, you haven't been here before? You really got to try my favorite dish, the baked zucchini, right? If you have been here before, I may be offering the same dish, but I say it differently. I say, oh, you've been here before? Have you had a chance to try the baked zucchini? And now I'm asking that question to get their feedback. And if they say, no, I haven't, or yes, I have, we can carry on the conversation. But that's called engaged service. When I was a restaurant manager, that's what we always did with our server training, right? It's the order makers, not order takers.
Yeah.
And so that same thing needs to transfer into your email marketing messages. You need to ask questions and deliver responses based on those questions. So when we take someone's email, that's the first thing that we do. And then back to the, our uniques, we make sure to deliver a message to them through 3 emails, on a welcome series that make sure that they understand why we're unique, because so many restaurants have things that make them unique that nobody knows about. Right.
Right.
For instance, I was talking with the client yesterday, and I asked them, I'm like, Kate, I need you to come up with your what makes you special. Right. And so he listed out 5 things. I'm like, well, no, I need more. Like, we need to really dive in here in big lists. And then all of a sudden it pops up and he's like, oh, well, I have a private room with karaoke. I'm like, what? I'm like, I've been working with you for 3 weeks. I've been up and down your website, your Facebook and everything. I'm like, you never mentioned that once. He's like, oh yeah, I guess. I'm like, does it get booked out? No. I'm like, well, does anybody know that you have it? So that's the thing is, and that's why we go through a lot of discovery and all that work at the start.
Right.
And if I'm working with the client, that's how I learn. And I'm like a chameleon. I can take in, I understand, I feel, I get a knowledge of what you're trying to do. And then I can help with the, directing that marketing piece in the same sort of style and accomplish what you want to accomplish. Right. So it really, it's not about taking a picture, writing a cool caption and posting it on Facebook. Right.
We have to draw that out from people too. A lot of people don't know what they're about, or they don't necessarily know that one thing is super important. Like you say about the karaoke room. I mean, they put that in, they probably thought that was a fun idea 3 years ago. And then people didn't catch on because they didn't mention it, or they tried it a few times and they didn't market it in that way or to the right people. So with what's your experience with different types of marketing? I mean, I know email is your stick, and that's your focus. Of course, we always do a pre-call, and Lance and I were talking yesterday. We get on a ramble, and we could talk for hours. I always get to the point where I'm like, okay, we have to stop because this is gold. We have to save it for tomorrow. But we were talking about other forms of messaging as well, like and whether or not that's the right fit for your establishment. We were talking about cafes and having the marketing message that goes onto your messenger on Facebook and that type of thing, which isn't necessarily a fit for everybody, right?
Yeah. Well, yesterday we were talking about collecting email addresses through Wi-Fi, right?
Right, yeah.
And how for some reason, or for some places like a cafe where you have lots of people coming and, logging on with their computers and sitting around, that it's a great way for you to capture your email information, right? Other times though, you have a fast casual restaurant where people are in and out and, they're not, they're on their phones, but they're using their own data and it's not a big deal. I work with one client that has had an email capture system through their Wi-Fi for over a year, and they've captured 50 names. So it just it's not the right style, right? So you have to find the right style, and that takes work, right? It's trial and error. There is no cookie cutter solution. I can't come to a restaurant and say, this is what you got to do. It's a work in progress, right? And we try things, and it's an evolution, right? Yeah. And so the kind of hub of everything is the email, but the email is there to produce the end result of the superfan, right? And the superfan is the kind of the end goal, right? And like I was saying earlier, the superfan is extremely important because they're the people that are going to get out into the market and reach people that no matter what you do, you can't reach. Right. I said yesterday to you, I'm like, if I say, hey chef, like you got to go check out this new restaurant called ABC Grill, you'd love it. What's the first thing that you're going to do when I walk away or when I'm standing there? Right?
Google it.
Yeah. You're going to pick up your phone. You're going to go ABC Grill. Let's check this out. Right. And so this brings us back to really crafting our message, right? And the whole thing relies around the one-liner, right? 1 to 3 sentences to really describe what your restaurant is about and what makes you special, right? So that's the message, because now the first thing when you go to Google and type it in, that restaurant name is going to pop up, and it's going to pop up with a little description. And so that's going to be your first experience with that restaurant, right? And then you might go and, click on it and then go to the web page. And then that description has to match what you're seeing on that website, right? And so that all that stuff has to tie in. But, back to the whole Google thing is Google is the number one most important social media platform. And most restaurants don't know it, right? They're spending all this time and energy posting to Facebook and Instagram, but they're not posting to their Google My Business page. And that has become more important than anything else, because Google likes to reward people who do work. So if you work at, making their listings more accurate and making their posting to it and delivering messages and engaging with people, then they're going to start increasing your rankings. And it's not your, search engine optimization rankings, it's your map rankings, right? And so that is kind of the next evolution of the whole SEO marketing and the whole platform that a restaurant needs to worry about, because it's not only, the Google Maps, but the Google Maps are tied into the voice activation, right? You're driving in your car and you go, hey, what's our restaurants around here? And now your car, on Android Auto or, Apple Auto or whatever it's called, I can't remember. But, those rankings now will reach higher, because they're going to promote restaurants that have, good reviews, good engagement. And that is where you're going to start driving extra traffic from, right?
Right. So is that kind of the algorithm is kind of geofencing you in that way, and giving you I guess more attention within your region then?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's key. I mean, because people aren't going to drive 20 miles to come to your place. The majority of your guests are unless you're an event place. I mean, the majority of your guests are going to be your neighbors within a couple of miles.
Yeah. 100%. And that's the thing that, we really need to concentrate on is that where is your target location, right? Everybody always says, oh, I want anybody and everybody who has money who's going to come into my restaurant. Well, for sure. That's everyone's dream, right? That's, but by focusing in again on, a certain person or a certain style, by natural selection, you'll get other people coming in, right? Because those people have influence, right? If one of my target customers, I say is, they love yoga, right? And if I'm building my avatar, well, if they love yoga and they like steak, well, maybe, they're going to hang out with yoga people who like pasta, and they know that, I have steak, but I also have a good pasta dish. So now they're going to tell their yoga people about, so there is always that extra connection, right? But by staying focused, you're honing in on those people, right? Developing those super fans. Those super fans are then going and really doing marketing for you and super ambassadors of your brand.
So when you're doing an email marketing campaign, what's a good percentage of open rate? What would you say, where people are getting your email blast or they're getting their emails and are you? I mean, obviously you want everybody to open them and everybody to show up, but what would you consider to be a reasonably good percentage? Because a lot of people would go, oh, well, only 30% open, but 30% is pretty good, I think.
Yeah. So an industry average open rate is about 20%, 18 to 20%.
Okay.
We like to get a 35% open rate, but
Okay.
we also don't really care about open rate because an open rate is kind of skewed. A lot of people don't know this, but when you're sending to a Gmail account, Gmail will post back that it's open even if the person hasn't read it. So you're not necessarily getting an accurate result of who read it, right?
Okay.
The other thing with an open rate is I can open up an email, but that doesn't mean that I've actually read it or I'm engaged with it.
Right.
So we work on click rate. Okay. So the click rate is the most important thing. So when we draft an email, our emails are short and sweet, and they try and get you to go to a landing page, right? Okay. So when we
so there's a link in there to click on.
Right. So that way we know that you were interested in that product. Now, not only do we know that people are being engaged with our messages, but we also know what you're interested in, right? So if I send you a message about, the new escargot dish I have, right, and you click on it, well, I know that interests you, and I can relate that for future. Say I want to do an incentive based on escargot. Well, I'm going to send it just to the people who, click that, and you right, develop that information, right? But now it's engagement, right? People are opening up their emails on their cell phones, right? So, excuse me, I get, I subscribe to a lot of restaurant emails. And the one thing that drives me nuts about a lot of them is the amount of time and energy they spend in crafting these beautiful graphically designed emails. And then what I'll do is I'll open them on my phone, and the first screen on my phone has just, a picture of their logo. And so unless I am, really interested and I'm going to scroll down, there's no reason for me to look at that email, right? Like I'm opening it, and you might be getting a great open rate, but how do I know that there's more content further down, right? So where if you say, hey chef, how's your day going? Hey, just so you know, we got this great new special coming up. If you're interested, click here and find out more. Okay. Boom, end of email. Thanks, Lance. Looking forward to your next visit. Right? Short, sweet, to the point. You're not going to get annoyed by it because it's not 500 paragraphs to read. Yeah. And if you're interested in it, what are you going to do? You're clicking, right? And so that's where we take a different approach. Is we're sending more messages, right? So we're touching people, between every 3 and 6 days, all depending on the style of restaurant you have, right?
Right. That was my next question, was what's the threshold on when you're sending out? I mean, you don't want to get to the point where you're sending so many emails that people are like, oh, Jesus, again today. Oh, now it's 10 o'clock. I got another one. Oh, it's 2 o'clock. I got another one.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously people, we, set up certain automations, right? So, if you click on an email, we may put you into an automation that may send you out a little bit more aggressively, right? Some information. Say I use the wine dinner event just because it's easy and most people understand it. But, if I send you an email and I say, hey chef, we're having a wine dinner coming up in 2 weeks, click here if you're interested. Yeah. And you click. Well, I might send you now an email every couple of days, just from hey, it's getting closer kind of thing, book your ticket, that sort of thing. But if you don't click, then I'm not sending you anything. Right. And, one of those things too is, another example of that is we did an email campaign with a client for Valentine's Day. So before Valentine's Day, we sent out an email survey basically saying, hey, we just want to know, do you celebrate Valentine's Day on the day? Do you celebrate it within the week? Do you do something at home, or do you not celebrate? Right. And, so we get people's responses by that. And then when it gets closer to Valentine's Day, now the people who celebrate on the day, we send them an urgent email like, hey, you need to book because Valentine's Day is booking up super fast, you know, and the people who celebrate within the week, you know, we had a special menu. So we sent them an email saying, hey, just so you know, this special menu is not just available on Valentine's Day, it's available the whole week. So pick whatever day you want, right? People who celebrate at home, we sent them a message saying, just so you know, we can deliver through, you know, a delivery system, or you can pick it up. Right. And then those people who said they don't celebrate, well, now we left them alone, right? Because they're not interested, right? So why would we send them another email when they've already told us that, you know, they're not interested in that?
When do you think is a good time to start? Like, I mean, Valentine's is a good example. Is a good time to start a campaign before a particular event? Do you think it's 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out? Is there enough opportunity for follow up within that amount of time? You know, what are you finding that works? This is, I mean, people are watching this, and this is all information they want to know. And for everybody who's watching, this information is awesome, not just for your restaurant, but for any email marketing that you're doing. These are fantastic tips and fantastic ideas, which is why I wanted to have Lance on. He's an expert in this, and this is all stuff that works for every business. So whether or not you're selling a product or a service or whatever it is, I mean, this all works very well.
Yeah. So I think with every sort of holiday, and it always differs, right? And it's very hard for me to say this is exactly what you have to do.
Right.
Because every restaurant is different. Every, you know, how people consume your product and have your experience is different. But it's never too early to start talking about a special event, you know, on those days, right? New Year's is over. Well, I'm going to give it a week and I'm going to start talking about Valentine's Day, right? Is planting the seed. And when you're not sending people these, you know, huge long emails, and you're sending them just quick notes, right? It really, you know, it's not as invasive as when you are always bombarding them with the same message, right? And so I think that's where people get annoyed sometimes, is that, you know, it's a graphic of Cupid and, hey, check out our special Valentine's menu, right? Yeah. And it's like, well, this is crap. Like, I don't want crap. But you know, if I were to send you an email every day and I had some information to give you, or you know, we're having a chat and something like that, would you get annoyed?
No.
Right. But if I were just sending you
personal email.
Yeah. But if I were sending you, you know, hey, chef, check out my restaurant funnel logo. Hey, chef, check out my restaurant funnel logo. Right. Like,
right.
And that's where we, you know, and that's where you push it. Right. So, and then back to the, you know, about you saying about the, you know, how many emails you send, you don't want to get annoying. So my analogy is that, you know, you have a restaurant, you create an atmosphere in your restaurant, right? You set the music level to be at a certain level to create an atmosphere in your restaurant. Now your restaurant's half full, okay? Everybody's having a good time. And you have this one table that comes in and goes, you know, can you turn down the music? Do you turn down the music for them?
No.
Right? No, right? You don't, because that's not who you are. That's not your atmosphere. And that's where that's where a lot of restaurants will go like, well, I don't want to send out email because somebody sent me an email saying I send out way too many emails, so they don't want to be on my email list. Right. It's like, well, it's the same thing.
I have a question, Lance. I mean, and to this comes back to, I think we may have partially answered the question, but from Tammy Kennedy, how should restaurants market their community support of nonprofits via social media? And again, there's an opportunity right there.
So basically, okay, so let me understand the question. So like, you support a local charity, and
yeah, how should restaurants market their community support of nonprofits via social media? So how do you tell your community that your restaurant supports nonprofits? You know, for example, I mean, the Tim Hortons business was really built on community involvement. They've since made some adjustments there, but that's always been a big thing, right? So, and Boston Pizza, for example, has always been involved in local hockey and local sports, and that's been a big thing that them promoting. So I think this is, I mean, as you're talking about keeping a message to going out to your community, perhaps that's something that rather than always just being about the next kind of thing that you're doing within the store, maybe it's an opportunity to let your followers know, let your super fans know that you're also involved in your community.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, there's one of my restaurants that I owned way back in the day. We used to do an email campaign where every Thursday we sent an email of what's happening in the city. Cool. And that was our community involvement, and people were more engaged with that email. And it wasn't, you know, we weren't self-promoting, we weren't branding, we were just letting people know, like, you know, we had one of our people kind of figure out the top 10 things to do and sent it out. But it's about being genuine, right? Genuine, right? So if I am you know, involved in a community event, or I've given a community sponsorship, you know, am I doing it because I want to be recognized for it, or am I doing it because I want to help, right? And if you're truly doing it because you want to help, then that will come full circle, and it's not really necessary for you to let everybody else know, right? And but you know, that's what social media is good for, right? You know, you put up a post and, hey, you know, we just wrote a check to whatever, we, you know, the staff went and went to the soup kitchen and fed a bunch of people, right? That's what social media is for. That's where, you know, because social media is still important. So don't get me wrong. Like, it's still an important part of your marketing, right? It's it's like in the, you know, before you had to have a web page, right? You know, so now you have to have a web page, but you have to have a Facebook page, and you have to have an Instagram page. You just have to, right? But, and what you post to that is those sort of events, because that's not something that necessarily you want to, you know, bombard somebody's email box with, right? You know, you got to think of that as more of a personal invasion, unless you're, you know, unless it's an event, right? Hey, we're going to, you know, hand out hot dogs at the local rink. Hopefully you can come down and show your support, right? If you're trying to get people on board. But if it's just like you know, a newsletter or a news item or letting people know, your email that's not what it's for, right? Your email is to create an engaged conversation, right? To ask a question. And so, you know, if you can, you know, as I'm talking, right, I'm thinking and, you know, like, so I guess if somebody wanted to send an email saying, hey, we just did this, right? You know, you could ask the question to find information by saying, hey, we just did this. We're looking for another charity to help support. What do you think is important, right? And building engagement. And the number one thing is that, you know, you're going to find people are going to reply, right? When you start writing emails like this, people are going to reply, right? I wrote an email for a client for the first time and sent it out, and he forwarded me a couple of replies, and I'm like, well, did you send them a message? Like, well, no, I didn't send a message. What am I supposed to say? I'm like, you're just supposed to just chat. Like,
you now have engagement.
Yeah, this lady wrote back and said, oh, you know, thanks for letting us know about your Valentine's, but I'm spending time with my family. And so, and, you know, it's a very personal message back. And I'm like, yeah, because she felt that email made her feel like it was a personal email from you, right? It wasn't. Right. And so I said, I'm like, you just write back and say, hey, that's so awesome. You're spending time with your kids. You know, hopefully you can come down to the restaurant sometime soon. Have a great Valentine's, right? Like,
so you bring up an excellent point regarding the Instagram and Facebook and the web page and all of that. And as a restaurant operator, the very last thing I'm thinking of at the end of the day or the beginning of the day is, oh, did I post enough on Instagram, or did I post enough on Facebook, or you know, are the colors on my web page likable to my demographic. But I think the thing to take away here is that those are all broadcast things, but they're not a personal engagement the way that you're approaching marketing.
Yes.
Right? So
100%.
right,
So
because really at the end of the day, and we have this conversation in-house all the time. Who the hell has time to go and and make Instagram videos and get a picture of the food and all of that stuff? You have to have a special team for that. And if you've got that kind of an operation that you have a special team that can go and do that, that's fine. But 95% of restaurants are small operators, so they don't really have either the time or the skill set or the knowledge to be able to do that in the right way, or even the time to do it in general.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So Facebook and Instagram, you need to be active on there in the sense of you need to contribute, right? Because when I recommend a restaurant, you're going to go to Google, you're going to go from Google, you're going to go to my website. On my website, there's going to be links to my social profiles, and this is why I don't really like Instagram as much, because you can't really share, but where Facebook is still really great because you can share posts.
Right.
If I'm talking about somebody, a recommendation on my Facebook post, and I tag somebody, then they're going to go and look at my Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
And so those pages need to be current, right? You need to be posting. My personal belief is you need to post twice a day. And people are like, holy man, like twice a day, I can barely do like 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I understand, but what you need to do is you need to invest in a program that does it for you. Okay. And not a person that does it for you, but there's a program, it's called One Up, that I've just started using. So it posts to Instagram, Facebook, your LinkedIn business page, your Google My Business, and it allows you to customize and broadcast those messages. It allows you to
set aside time and then preset your time for that.
So
to broadcast.
you take a few hours and you get it done, right? Because it's important. And if you can't afford to have someone do it for you, then you just need to carve out that time and schedule it. Then the other thing is, well, what if I want to post something extra? Well, then you post something extra, right? But at least now you're not going, like you said, oh, I didn't post today, right?
Yeah.
That's going out. And the same thing with your email, right? We set up automations, right? So that it takes you through the series and we're not going, oh, I got to write an email, right? Yeah. So, jumping back to the email thing, we write what's called a daily email, right? So we write 7 emails that go out Monday through Sunday, but we're not sending them out every day. We put you in an automation that basically decides when you're going to get this email. So if it's every 3 days, then, you're getting an email Monday, then you're getting an email Thursday, and so on, right? If it's every 6 days, it's Monday, then Saturday, on a rotation, right?
Right.
But now, even if you're doing it every 4 days, all you have to do is once a month, change those emails. Right. So it's not a, I have to, do it every week and stuff like that. Once a month, you can go in, you can change those emails and make it so that people are getting a different message. And for the most part too, people aren't going to remember if you sent them the same message 4 weeks ago, if you have it crafted properly, right? Or it's a matter of going in and changing a few words or adding in, instead of you saying fall, you're saying spring now, or winter, that sort of thing. So there's ways to make it a lot simpler. And so anyway, full circle. So if there's one thing that people need to invest money in their restaurant for marketing is professional photography. So nowadays it's like before, where if you weren't a good restaurant unless you had a website.
Right.
Now you're not a good restaurant unless you have professional photography. Whether it's a $5 burger or $50 steak, you need to have someone come in with lights and make that food look good, right? And style it. Spend the $500 to $1,000, have a photo shoot, cook every meal you have, and get that photographer to shoot as many pictures as they can. But having that stock photography of your dishes is by far most important, because when someone goes on to especially Instagram and looks at your page, right? they're scrolling through the pictures and they're just looking at the pictures, right?
Blur.
So it's one of those things. If you have bad pictures, people are going to be turned off because they expect you to have great pictures, right? Those great pictures, I don't believe are going to make them come into your restaurant, but having bad pictures may make them not come into your restaurant. So that's that catch-22, right? And, on the Instagram train, somebody looks at your Instagram, they read your description, they have a link to your website. The next thing that they're doing is they're going to your website. And again, the first thing that you need to have on your website is a way to capture permission from someone to continue to market to them.
Yeah.
Right at the start, right? Thanks for visiting my website, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the best way to get people to give you permission is by giving them an incentive, right? And so that's the kind of the area where some restaurants go like, oh, coupons. I don't want to do coupons, right? It's like, I understand that, you're afraid of the whole couponing thing because, you don't want to give discounts and you don't want, people to come in who are just cheap. But what it is it's you standing behind your product and saying, look, if you're willing to give me your personal information, I'm willing to give you something for free.
Right.
Okay. And now that you've given me your personal information and you've gotten something for free, now you have a lower barrier of entry into coming to my restaurant, right? Whether it be a dessert or an appetizer or 2-for-1 entree or $25 off or whatever it is, right? That's the thing, right? But now it's digital, right? And so I see restaurants who do this well, but then they screw up the next part where they send out a generic email with a coupon that, you cut out and hand in, but you need to have the tracking, right? So we create digital coupons where you can either print them or you can have them on your device and when they've been redeemed. So now you can follow up. Right. And then that's that cycle. Right now, they've come in, you can follow up, make sure that everything is great. And if it's not great, you can turn that moment of misery into a moment of magic and, win them back. Right. But
money is something that people are accustomed to. It's not a new fandangled thing. An organization that I used to work with, we had 75 franchises. And the franchise stores, the individual franchisees that literally went out into their neighborhood a couple of times a week, even just with coupons. They sent out the counter person, if they weren't busy in the middle of the afternoon, just to go and say, hi, here, I just want to hand you a coupon to come and visit our store. We're just up the street. Thanks very much. The return rate on those was 1 in 10.
Yeah. Which
is unbelievable.
Yeah.
From somebody saying, hi, thanks very much for acknowledging and come check us out. We're just up the street. Thank you so much. Yeah. Just want to let you know that we're here. And they went into the local restaurants. Now, as a market study, and this is 75 locations. So we had the opportunity to make sure that it worked. The stores that actually did this on a regular basis had a far higher sales rate at the end of the month than the ones that didn't. So the ones that didn't, we would say, are you couponing? They'd be like, well, obviously you're not busy, so you could go and do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the only thing that the only difference, so this is my thing. So that's the old school way of doing it. Right.
Yeah.
And the reason people are shy from it is because you go and hand out all these coupons, you get a spike in business, right? They come in, but then the coupons aren't out and now you're slow again. Right.
Right.
So I strongly believe, the door-to-door personal touch, handing stuff out is great. But instead of handing out a coupon, now I'm handing out a flyer or something that says, visit this web page, give me your email address, download a free coupon, right? And so now, obviously it's a little bit cleaner than that, or, we write it a little bit better, but now you're able to track this, right? So if I hand out 1,000 flyers, I know out of those 1,000 flyers, 400 people went to the website. And I know out of those 400 people, 200 people actually signed up. And out of those 200 people, 100 people actually came in. right? And I can follow up with them, and I can follow up with the 100 people that didn't come in, and maybe try and get them to come in the next month. And but that's where the whole, building a permission-based email marketing system, it's a slow process at the start, but once you get to those numbers where you have, I say 20 times your seat capacity. So if you have 100 seats, you should have at least 2,000 people on your email list, right? Once you have those people on your email list, then you can start building more engagement. Then you aren't necessarily needing to go and hand out those coupons. You just send out an email to, the people you have, and you can do, and it's not a matter of just, hey, here's a coupon. Oh, you come in, use a coupon. Here's another coupon, right? You can do all sorts of things like, hey, bring in a new friend, or, donate this coupon, right? Like there's lots of different, like, once you figure out the base, right, the ideas and the potential to market is enormous.
So I guess the digital way is so that you can better track it. It's a better breadth, better broadcast. And so when you say, if you have a 200 seat restaurant, for example, then you should have 2,000 people on your
4,000.
Your target should be 2,000 email capture. Sorry, 4,000.
20%, 20 times.
20 times.
20
okay.
times.
Well, so there's another nugget to earmark, right?
Yes.
So that's the benefit of having you on here, Lance, is to be able to grab these pieces of information, because we as operators, we don't know.
Yeah.
We have no idea. And again, when if we're not talking to somebody who's going to have a conversation with us about kind of all aspects and what works and how we can make these things work within our image and within kind of our 3 W's, then we end up, again, like I say, we end up paying $2,500 to somebody to post on Facebook all month.
Yeah.
So which again happens and happens and happens and happens and happens. When I first had this conversation with Lance, for all of you who are listening, we spoke for 45 minutes, and I said, I've learned more in the last 45 minutes than I have in 30 years of being over 30 years of being in the restaurant industry about marketing restaurants, where it's a great thing to be able to have access to somebody like Lance and Restaurant Funnel, to be able to learn and to have him sit or be on the phone with you or on a Zoom call to discover who you are, what you're about, what's going to work for you, and to educate you. So it's not about just paying somebody to go and make posts for you. It's about figuring out what's going to work within your 3 W's and your demographic. Lance, did you have anything else to add to that? Because this has been awesome.
Yeah, I think the punchline that I just want to put on that is, do not pay for any sort of marketing unless you can track it. Because, first of all, doing Facebook posts and Instagram posts, those are relatively easy. And, give me a call, I'll show you how to do it. And I can set it up for you. And it's not as expensive as people are charging. And that frustrates me. Right. You should only pay, and you need to pay, right? Because with Facebook and Instagram, it's a pay to play market, right? And they're still very important, but if you're not paying to play, then you're not getting your message out enough. But if you're going to pay to play and you're doing any advertising, that it needs to be trackable, right? As an independent restaurant, like you're not McDonald's or one of these big places that can afford to just spend money, because that's called branding, right? You need to do marketing. So if you're spending $1,000 on Facebook ads, you need to be able to measure, did someone click on that Facebook ad? Did they give me their information? Did they use my incentive? Did they come in, right? And did they provide me feedback, and market all that? And the scary thing is that, that might be $20 a table, right? That might be what the cost of doing business in your market is that you're going to have to pay $20 to get a new guest onto your list, right?
Right.
And people get scared when you throw out those numbers. We do it for a lot less, but I'm just throwing it out there that, if that's what it is. But then I turn around and say, I'm like, well, okay, you're spending $1,000 on Facebook ads. How many tables are you getting in? They're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, so you're spending $1,000 for, I don't know. And I can tell you, you're going to spend $1,000 and you're going to get in, let me do the quick math here, 50 tables. Right. Which direction makes more sense. Right. And when you start tracking it, the thing is, yeah, okay, this month you only got 50 tables. Well, what do we need to change? What do we need to adjust? How do we need to craft our message differently to try and get 100 tables?
Right. And I mean, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, once you have 50 tables in, that's 50 opportunities to create repeat business. For sure. So now that's the onus is on you as an operator and you as a restaurant in your training and in your in-house to make sure that 50 becomes 100, becomes 150, becomes 200, becomes. So we're in a business of repeat business. So it's one thing to get people in the door one time. But no matter how much money you spend on getting people in the door one time, if you screw it up when people get there from lack of training and poor operation, then all you're doing is getting your one shot. Yeah. And there is no marketing campaign in the world that will make up for a bad operation. Oh no. Right. So if you have operational issues and guest satisfaction issues and stuff, before you spend any money on marketing, you need to spend money trying to get that cleaned up. Right. And then once that's, marketing kind of can take things to the next level. Right. And marketing is not a quick fix, right? It's an investment, it's a strategy. And that's why we, strongly recommend restaurants, let's work right from the start and let's build something. And so that now you have a foundation and it's a tool and you can build on it. But, if you come to someone and they say like, hey, like, my restaurant's failing and I need, to make $10,000 this month. There is really no marketing in the world that's going to make that happen, instantly, right? And if it does, it's a quick fix and it's a Band-Aid and it's not going to carry over. Right. And so absolutely. That's where I find a lot of these marketing people will just, take your money and overpromise and under deliver. Right. And that's what I'm here to, I'm here to help. Right. And if people, want to reach out to me and have a call, right. I'm here to help. Right. I'm not here to charge anybody. I'll have a hour-long conversation with somebody and figure things out and support them as best I can. Sure, it's the right fit. Yeah. And, and I'd never take anybody's money if I can't, if I don't think that what this process is the right place for them. Yeah. Too. So, well, thanks so much for coming on, Lance. I know that this has been a great opportunity for people to learn more about marketing than in an hour than they're probably going to learn in years. And if people are interested in learning more and having a one-on-one with Lance, Restaurant Funnel is his company. You can find him online. You can find him on LinkedIn. And the other thing is we are working on having Lance put together a masterclass in marketing. So he'll have his own opportunity to have a show that you'll be able to come and watch through our network as well. So it's going to be fantastic. He's going to be putting out this type of information for people to learn. So that's something that we've discussed, and I highly recommend people get in touch personally with Lance so that they can ask those questions, see what works, and get his expert advice. Thanks again. And we're getting to all panelists, thank you, and great info from our messages and chats and people putting their hands up. Again, today we are live on LinkedIn around the world. We're on Periscope, YouTube, Twitter. Any more?
I don't know, but like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Hit the button. Hit the bell. All of that stuff. thanks to Lance today. And go make sure your house or your garage isn't burning down, Lance.
Yeah, no, yeah. Change the battery in the smoke detector. So
Take the battery.
Thanks, Chef Jason. It was great to be on.
Thank you again. Take care.
Bye.